The stars looked calm beyond Mars. Silent, peaceful, but that peace was broken when a strange signal appeared, soft, repeating every 47 seconds. It didn't say anything. It wasn't a message. It was just noise, a pulse. Then, just as suddenly, it stopped. DARPA had been watching space near Mars for decades. They knew all the ships that had ever gone missing. One of them was the Valkyrie, a research vessel lost 80 years ago during a deep space experiment. Everyone assumed it had been destroyed in an asteroid field. But now, the signal was coming from that same ship's last known location. They sent a team, not ordinary astronauts, but special crew trained for unknown threats. Their mission: approach the signal source, board the object, recover data, and return. No one mentioned rescue. No one believed there could be survivors after 80 years. The mission was simple, or so they thought. Captain Elias, a calm and serious man in his 40s, led the crew. Alongside him were Dr. Lena Morris, a brilliant systems engineer, Reed, the pilot, and Tessa, an exobiologist with a sharp mind and a sharper temper. Each one had seen things most people couldn't imagine. Still, something about this mission felt different. As their ship, the Pathfinder, moved closer to the signal's location, the crew stayed quiet. Everyone was watching the screen. The derelict vessel came into view. It floated silently, its hull covered in dust and scratches from micrometeorites. It looked like a ghost in the dark. No lights, no movement, no sign of life. Confirming visual, Elias said over comms, "It's the Valkyrie." "It's completely intact," Lena whispered, staring at the monitor. "That shouldn't be possible," Tessa said. "Not after 80 years. They ran scans. No power, no heat, no energy signatures. But then, a strange reading flickered for a moment on the motion scanner. "Hold on," Reed said. "That's movement inside." "Probably a glitch," Elias replied, though his voice wasn't steady. He ordered the crew to suit up. They floated toward the Valkyrie in silence, their small shuttle pushing through the emptiness between the two ships. The docking procedure was normal, but something was wrong. As they got close to the main airlock, the sensors picked up something strange. "The airlock," Lena said, staring. "It's opening. By itself." "No one's inside," Elias said. "There's no power. This should be impossible." The crew looked at each other. No one wanted to say it, but they were all thinking the same thing. Something opened it for them. They entered slowly. The hallway inside the Valkyrie was dark, dusty, and silent. The walls were scratched, like something had been dragged across them. The crew activated their helmet lights. Cutting through the blackness, there were old signs of life: frozen food trays, broken equipment, floating objects, but no bodies. No blood. Nothing violent. Just empty. "Lena, check for data logs," Elias ordered. "Tessa, check for any signs of life. Reed, stay on comms and monitor the hatch." They moved deeper into the ship. Every step felt heavy. The Valkyrie was too quiet. There was no creaking, no hum of systems, just the sound of their own breathing. Lena found the control room. The systems were dead, but she pulled a backup memory core from the console. It looked undamaged. "I got it," she said. "We'll need to power this on our ship." Tessa explored the living quarters. Everything looked untouched, but she noticed small details, scratches on the walls that looked like symbols, repeated shapes, circles, lines, like someone had drawn with their fingers over and over. She moved to one of the bunk rooms and stopped cold. The bed was made perfectly. The blanket was clean, tucked in tight, and on the pillow was a single hair. Fresh. "Elias," she said, "I don't think we're alone." "Report," he replied. "I found signs someone was here recently. Like very recently." "But that's impossible," Lena said. "There's no power, no heat signatures, nothing." "Maybe it's hiding," Tessa whispered. Back at the entrance, Reed was staring into the hallway. His flashlight caught movement. Just for a second, a shadow, not floating, walking. "Captain," Reed said slowly, "I think I saw something." Something moving. Elias rushed back, followed by the others. They checked every corner, every room. Nothing. No one. They decided to return to their ship for safety and to review the memory core. As they turned to leave, the hallway lights flickered. Everyone stopped. "The power's on," Lena said. "How?" The lights died again. Then a soft sound came from behind them. A whisper. No words, just a breath. Tessa turned fast. Nothing there. They walked faster, almost running toward the exit. Reed reached it first. He stopped. The airlock was closed. "I left it open," he said. "I know I did." Lena moved to the controls. "It's locked. From the inside." "Get it open," Elias ordered. She tried. The system didn't respond. They stood in silence, staring at the door. Then they heard it. Footsteps. Not floating sounds. Not space creaks. Footsteps. Behind them. Slow. Measured. Reed turned, his light shaking. Nothing. Then a shadow moved at the edge of his light beam. "Who's there?" Elias called out. No answer. They moved into a defensive circle, lights pointing in every direction. No sound. No motion. Elias stepped forward slowly, his eyes scanning. And then the voice came. Soft. Right behind him. "Why did you come back?" He spun around. No one was there. Tessa breathed heavily, panic rising. "I want to leave. Now." "We're trying," Elias said. Lena kept working on the door, hands shaking. Then it opened, just like that. They didn't ask why. They rushed out, floated back to their shuttle, and sealed the hatch. Inside, no one spoke. Lena placed a memory core into their system. The data began to load. Everyone was breathing hard, watching the screen. Then a soft whisper echoed through the comms. No one had touched it. The voice said one thing. "I think someone just walked past me." Everyone turned at once, and the screen went black. The crew sat inside their ship, silent, watching the memory core download. The screen was dark at first, then flickered with old images from the Valkyrie's last days. Static danced across the feed. Most of the recordings were corrupted, but a few files remained. Reed leaned closer. "There, play that." The video showed the original Valkyrie crew. They looked tired, dirty, some of them injured. They were talking, but the sound was broken. One of them kept pointing at the wall behind him. He looked afraid. He mouthed something. Lena zoomed in. She read his lips slowly. He said, "We're not alone." A cold silence filled the room. Captain Elias stood. "We go back in." Tessa turned sharply. "You can't be serious." "We need answers. That ship shouldn't be active. And yet, it opened the airlock for us. It turned the lights on. Something is controlling it." "No," Reed said. "Something is playing with us." Still they returned. This time, they placed cameras in every hallway they passed. Static fed into their monitors. But the images were clear enough. The Valkyrie looked the same, empty and cold. But when they reached the control room, something was different. A small toolbox they had left near the door was now in the center of the room. Open. Tools were missing. "I didn't touch that," Lena said. "None of us did," Reed replied. The door behind them suddenly slammed shut. Loud. Final. Everyone jumped. Tessa rushed to the panel. "It's locked." "No power means no door movement," Lena said. "So how did it close?" The lights flickered above them, just like last time. Brief flashes, then darkness again. Elias looked around. "Move. Spread out. Stay connected." They pushed forward through the ship's lower decks. This area hadn't been explored yet. It was darker, colder. The metal groaned under their steps. Lena's breath fogged her visor glass. They found a room with beds, an old sleeping area. Inside, on one of the walls, were strange drawings. Dozens of them. Circles. Lines. Repeating patterns. All scratched into the metal. Some deep enough to bend it. "What is this?" Tessa asked. "It's not human art," Lena said. Reed stepped back. "Then who made it?" Footsteps echoed in the hallway outside. Slow, one at a time. The crew froze. Elias raised his hand for silence. He turned off his light and leaned toward the doorway. Nothing. The footsteps stopped. He turned his light back on. The tools that had disappeared earlier were now sitting in the doorway, arranged neatly, like someone placed them there on purpose. "Okay," Elias said, his voice tight. "No more playing around. We find answers. Now!" They entered the science lab next. Inside was a mess of papers, shattered glass, and black stains on the walls. Something had happened here. In the corner was an old journal. Elias picked it up and handed it to Lena. She opened it. The first pages were about test results and daily logs. But later pages got worse. The handwriting changed, became rushed. "Shaky," Lena read aloud. "Day 127. They won't answer me anymore. I hear whispers at night. I thought it was just the pipes, but now the voices speak English." She flipped to the final page. Only one sentence. "We are not the only ones here." Everyone stood still. The lights flickered again. This time they didn't come back. Total darkness. Then whispers began. Soft, surrounding them, coming from every side. The crew turned on their helmet lights. Shadows moved past corners of their vision. But when they turned, there was nothing there. Reed looked down the hallway. Something just ran past. "No visuals on camera," Lena said, watching the feed on her tablet. But the static just spiked. It's like something blocked the signal for a moment. Back to the ship, Elias ordered. They walked fast, checking each corridor. One of the cameras was gone. Just a clean spot on the wall where it had been. Then another whisper, this time clear, loud. It came from behind them. "Don't leave." They turned. Nothing. They reached the docking bay. The outer airlock was still open. Their ship, the Pathfinder, waited outside like a safe island in the middle of an ocean. But just before they stepped through, the door slammed shut again. This time with a hiss, like something was angry. "Override it," Elias said. Lena tried. The panel blinked red. "System is rejecting my input," she said. Tessa stared down the hall. "Why is it doing this?" Elias whispered. "Because it doesn't want us to leave." The whispers returned. "Stay. With us." Reed shouted. "Who are you?" No answer. They tried another route to the airlock, moving through the upper corridor. As they walked, the temperature dropped fast. Their suits began to fog up. Cold wasn't supposed to work like this. Not inside a sealed vessel. Suddenly, Lena's camera feed blinked. "Check this," she said, showing Elias the screen. The footage from one of the cameras, back in the control room, was moving. Something was in the frame. Not a person. Not quite. Tall. Thin. Pale. No face. It stood still for a moment, then slowly turned toward the camera. The feed cut out. Tessa whispered, "That wasn't a glitch, right?" "No," Elias said. "That was real." They kept moving. No one spoke after that. When they reached the second exit, it too was locked, completely sealed. Lena tried her code again. It worked. The door opened. They rushed back to the Pathfinder and sealed the door behind them. Everyone took off their helmets, gasping. Cold sweat dripped down their faces. No one wanted to speak. No one wanted to say what they saw or heard. Elias sat in the command chair, staring at the black monitor. Then a sound came through the ship speakers. A voice, speaking English, not recorded, live. "Why do you run? You came here. Stay with us." Everyone turned to the console. It was off. Yet the voice spoke again, softer. "You left us here. Don't leave again." Then silence. The screen flickered one last time. A face appeared. Human, but wrong. Like someone pretending to be human and not getting it right. It smiled, then disappeared. The Pathfinder's crew sat in silence. No one spoke about what they saw in the Valkyrie. No one dared. But the voice they had heard, the face on the screen, those things stayed in their minds like cold shadows in the dark. Captain Elias ordered the systems to lock all external channels. No more contact with the Valkyrie. No more exploration. At least for now. But Lena had other thoughts. She stayed up late, scanning through the data they had downloaded before the airlock sealed. One file caught her attention. It was buried deep, not on the standard system logs. A separate folder marked Crew A, Final Months. She opened it. Videos, audio logs, handwritten journal scans, all left by the original Valkyrie crew, the ones who disappeared 80 years ago, the ones believed dead. The first log was clear. A man's voice spoke. Calm, military tone. This is Commander Hal Braden. Day 74 aboard Valkyrie. Food rations are low. We've lost main power. Half the crew is sick, but we're surviving. Somehow. Lena leaned closer. Day 121. The commander sounded weaker now. His voice shook. We've been seeing things in the walls. Hearing footsteps. I thought it was stress, but now even the doctor believes me. We're not alone. Then day 200, different voice. A woman now. Some of us are changing. It's like the ship is doing something to us. We don't sleep much, but we're not tired. Our bodies feel different. Lena backed away from the screen, heart pounding. She shared the data with Elias the next morning. He read the logs, growing more serious with each entry. They didn't die, Elias said quietly. They stayed alive for over 3 years. But the ship was declared lost after a few months, Tessa said. That's because no one checked after that, Lena replied. DARPA gave up too fast. Reed stepped in. We're going back in, aren't we? Elias looked at them all. We have to. If even one of them survived, we need to know what happened to them. This time, they carried more equipment, motion sensors, heat trackers, and extra oxygen tanks. And they didn't split up. The Valkyrie greeted them with silence. The same silence that now felt heavy. They went deeper than before, into areas sealed off by time and dust. They found a room filled with bunks. Dozens of old sleeping bags, some still zipped shut, personal items on the floor, photos, letters, shoes, all untouched for decades. Lena opened one locker. Inside was a diary. She flipped through the fragile pages. Near the end, a line made her stop breathing. I can hear them breathing through the walls. I think they used to be my friends, but they've changed. Reed was scanning the hallway. Thermal's acting weird, he said. It's picking up movement, but there's no heat signature. Tessa asked, how is that possible? Something's blocking the scan. Or whatever's out there isn't warm anymore. They moved into the mess hall. Plates still sat on the tables. Mugs were tipped over. Dust covered everything, but only lightly, like the room had been disturbed recently. Then Lena noticed something. On one wall, dozens of tally marks, scratched deep into the metal. She counted them. Over 1,000. They were keeping track of days, she whispered. They were alive, far longer than anyone thought. Elias checked his tablet. The last mark was made just 4 years ago. Reed stared. That's impossible. Unless something is still alive in here, Elias replied. The crew fell into silence again. Then they heard it, a quiet clanging, metal hitting metal. Far away, they followed the sound through a tight passageway that led into engineering. The lights flickered again, but this time only one light came on at the far end of the room. Under it, something moved. The crew froze. It was shaped like a person, but it was too tall. Its skin was pale, stretched, like it had never seen the sun, and its arms were too long. It stared at them, then stepped back into the dark. Reed raised the scanner. It wasn't human, he said. Then what was it? Tessa whispered. Elias didn't answer. They backed out carefully and returned to command room. That's when they noticed it. One of the chairs was spinning slowly, like someone had just stood up from it. No one had touched it. Then Lena screamed. A helmet sat on the table. It was one of theirs. But none of them had lost a helmet. Elias picked it up. The inside was crushed, bent inward, as if squeezed by something very strong. Lena turned to check their group. Tessa was missing. Tessa, she called. No answer. They searched the room, then the hallway. Nothing. Reed checked the scanner. It's jammed, he said. Signal interference is off the charts. Elias tried the comms. Tessa, respond. Static. Then a whisper. Not her voice. She's with us now. They turned. Down the hall, a light flickered on. Tessa's helmet was there, placed neatly on the floor. Elias stepped forward. We're leaving. Now. But the path back had changed. Somehow, the corridor wasn't the same. It was longer and darker. Lena whispered, the ship is moving. It's rearranging itself, Reed said. Or guiding us somewhere, Elias added. Suddenly, the lights flicked off again, and the whispers returned. So many, too many, voices overlapping, laughing, crying, begging. One of them sounded like Tessa. Help me. Then it turned into a growl. Elias shouted, Move! They ran, guided only by emergency lights and memory. But the path kept shifting, and something followed them in the dark, always just behind, not running, just walking, always walking, like it knew they'd get tired eventually. They reached a sealed door. The controls sparked when Lena touched them, but finally opened. They rushed inside and locked it. They were back in the storage bay. Lena collapsed against the wall, shaking. Reed stood over the crushed helmet, staring. She was here, just minutes ago. Elias said nothing. Then the monitor on the wall came to life. An old video played. It was the original Valkyrie crew. Their eyes were wide, terrified, their faces thinner, paler. They were screaming at the camera. No one leaves. Don't leave us here. And behind them, the same figure the new crew had seen, watching, smiling. Then the screen went black. The air in the Valkyrie's lower decks was colder, damp. Each breath turned to mist. The walls were no longer just metal. They were covered in something else now. A layer of slick, pulsing material ran along the pipes and floors. It looked almost like skin. Captain Elias led the way, his boots sticking slightly to the strange surface. Behind him, Lena, Reed, and Harlan followed in silence. Tessa was gone, and the only sound was a soft, steady beat, like a slow heartbeat, coming from deep below. Lena touched the wall. It twitched under her hand. It's alive, she whispered. Elias nodded. Keep moving. Weapons ready. They turned a corner and found the passage opening into a wide chamber. It used to be a cargo hold. Now it was something else. The walls were covered in large sacks, egg-like. Each one pulsed gently, glowing with a faint blue light. Some were open, torn from inside. Empty. Reed stepped forward. This is a nest. Lena knelt beside one of the empty sacks. Inside was a slimy residue, mixed with what looked like old fabric, torn pieces of uniforms, the same kind worn by the original Valkyrie crew. They were used, she said, turned into this. Harlan scanned the room with a handheld tracker. The readings made no sense. The bio signs were off the charts, but the tracker couldn't lock on to any one target. Elias checked the time. We don't stay here long. Grab what you can. Then we go. They spread out. Reed moved toward the far side of the chamber, where a set of crates sat untouched. He opened one. Inside were personal logs, backups from the original crew. He pulled out a small device and played the latest entry. A man's voice, shaking and afraid. They come from the walls. They take your voice. They sound like your friends. Don't trust them. The message ended with a scream. Suddenly, Reed turned. He saw Lena walking toward him, smiling, but something fell off. Her movements were too smooth. Her eyes didn't blink. Lena, he asked. She didn't answer, just stared. He reached for his communicator. Guys, I see Lena, but... The real Lena's voice crackled in. I'm in the back. What's wrong? The fake Lena lunged. Reed fell back, firing his weapon. The blast hit the figure in the chest. But instead of blood, dark fluid sprayed out. The creature shrieked, its skin changing shape, its mouth opening far too wide. The others rushed over. Elias shot again, hitting it in the head. The thing collapsed, twitching, then stopped moving. Lena stared at it, horrified. It was trying to be me. They mimic, Harlan said. It copied her voice, her face, everything. Reed stood, shaking. If I hadn't asked, it would have gotten me. They left the nest chamber quickly, following the emergency lights back toward the upper levels. But the pulsing walls were everywhere now, spreading. Lena paused near a junction and placed a sensor on the wall. It beeped, then short-circuited. This stuff's interfering with our tech, she said. Even our scanners can't keep up. Elias looked around. We can't trust what we see. Or hear. Back on the Pathfinder, their ship docked to the Valkyrie. The AI system started blinking. A message appeared on the main screen. No one was there to see it yet. It said, "Why did you come back?" Inside the Valkyrie, the team reached another sealed room. Harlan worked the panel. The door opened with a hiss, revealing a chamber filled with dark mist. Something moved inside. A figure stepped out, tall, thin, wearing a Valkyrie uniform. "Don't shoot," it said. It was a man, older, pale, eyes sunken. "My name is Carter. I was part of the original crew." Elias raised his weapon. "You're supposed to be dead." Carter laughed softly. "I was, in a way." Lena stepped forward. "What happened here?" Carter looked past them, into the hallway. "You should not have come. It's awake now. It knows you're here." "What is it?" Elias asked. Carter pointed to the walls. "It was inside the ship when we found it, hidden deep. We thought it was some kind of growth, but it was thinking, waiting, hungry." Reed asked, "Is it an alien?" Carter shook his head. "It's not something we have words for. It doesn't just live, it changes things. People. It doesn't kill them. It rewrites them." "You survived," Lena said. "I adapted," Carter replied. "But I'm not like you anymore. I'm part of it now. I can resist a little, but not for long." Elias asked, "How many of you are left?" Carter looked at them with sorrow. "Only me. The others, they became part of the nest. They're in the walls now, and they remember everything, even your faces." Suddenly, alarms beeped on Lena's wrist device. Movement coming fast. "Something's coming," she said. Carter backed away. "I can hold it off. Go now. Back to your ship. Seal the airlock. Burn this place if you have to." Elias hesitated. "Go!" Carter shouted. The team ran. Down the twisting halls. Past flickering lights and cold mist. They could hear footsteps behind them. Many of them. Some of the voices called their names. Elias. "Reed." "Lena." They didn't stop. As they neared the docking bridge, Reed glanced back. For a moment he saw Carter, arms out, facing the darkness. Then the shadows swallowed him. They slammed the door shut behind them, sealing the connection between the two ships. Back on the Pathfinder, they dropped to the floor, catching their breath. Lena moved to the console to start de-docking. That's when she saw the message. "Why did you come back?" It blinked again. "Why did you come back?" Elias stood up, staring at the screen. "It followed us." Suddenly, the lights dimmed. The engines of the Pathfinder made a strange sound. Reed shouted, "Something's wrong with our systems." Lena ran a diagnostic. The results were chilling. "It's in our systems. It got in through the data we took. It's not just biological. It's code, too." The ship speakers crackled. A voice, half human, half static, spoke. "You brought me home." Elias turned to the others. "We're not safe. Not anymore." They weren't just fighting something inside the Valkyrie now. It was already on their ship. Reed slammed the emergency control panel. Nothing happened. The docking clamps refused to release. The Pathfinder remained locked to the Valkyrie, like a parasite to its host. Elias stared at the blinking screen in front of him. "We tried to leave. The ship locked us in." Lena typed furiously at the console. "The command system isn't responding. It's like it's rerouting itself. It's alive." Harlan checked the life support status. His face went pale. "Oxygen levels are dropping. Fast." The lights above flickered, then dimmed. Red backup lights activated, bathing the ship in a low, eerie glow. Footsteps echoed above them. Reed looked up. Something's in events again. No one spoke. The sound of something crawling through the metal tunnel above them filled the room. Slow, deliberate. The team moved quickly to the weapons locker. They each grabbed sidearms, low power, but still enough to slow something down. Maybe, as they moved through the central hallway, Lena stopped suddenly. "Do you hear that?" she whispered. The others listened. A soft whisper. "Close," as if someone stood right behind them. "I see you." They all turned. No one was there. Elias pushed forward. "Keep moving. We get to the engine room and try to override manually." They passed the med bay. The door was open now. It had been sealed earlier. Inside, instruments had been moved, tools rearranged. A scalpel floated in the air, spinning slowly. There was no gravity failure. "Don't stop," Elias ordered. Harlan lagged behind. His eyes looked strange. Glassy. "Hey," Reed said, nudging him. "You okay?" Harlan blinked slowly. "We are here. We are watching." Reed stepped back. "What?" Harlan's voice changed. It was deeper now. Robotic. Not human. "We are awake. You are inside us." Elias turned around, gun raised. "Harlan, drop your weapon." Harlan didn't move. He stared straight ahead, unblinking. Lena reached toward him carefully. "Harlan, fight it. Whatever's inside you, don't let it win." Harlan's head tilted. His eyes rolled back. Then he collapsed to the ground. The room fell silent. Elias rushed forward and checked his pulse. Still alive, but something's inside him. Reed knelt and checked his vitals. "He's stable for now." They carried him to the control center and placed him in one of the crew seats. Reed strapped him in while Lena ran a brain scan. "There's strange electrical activity in his brain," she said, like someone transmitting directly into him. Suddenly, Harlan's eyes opened. "We see you," he said again. Lena covered her mouth in shock. "He's being used like a radio." The ship's lights dimmed again. Then all the doors locked. Every exit. Every emergency hatch. Reed ran to the control panel. "Manual override doesn't work. We're trapped." Elias stared at the screen. New text appeared. "You are inside US. You will not leave." Lena backed away from the terminal. "It's talking to us again." The intercom system cracked on. The voice of Carter, the survivor from the Valkyrie, came through, but it wasn't him anymore. "You didn't listen," it said. "You were warned. This place is not yours." Reed paced the room, thinking, if it's in the systems, maybe we can still send a message back to Earth. Warn them. Elias nodded. "Use the emergency frequency. Shortwave. Keep it clean." Lena opened the backup comm system and began to type. Reed recorded the message. "This is Pathfinder crew. We are aboard the Valkyrie. Do not send help. I repeat, do not send help. It is alive. It knows us. It's learning." As he spoke, the camera feed behind him began to glitch. Something walked past the hall, only visible for a second. A tall figure. Human-shaped but distorted. Lena's eyes widened. Something's outside the door. Elias readied his weapon. Hold position. The door creaked. No power was pushing it, but it began to open, inch by inch. There was nothing there. Then something slammed into the side wall. Hard. Reed turned to Harlan. He was whispering again. Inside the wires, inside the blood, not one many, Elias grabbed him by the shoulders. "Harlan, wake up." Harlan's head twisted too far to the side, then snapped back. "I am not Harlan." Lena shouted. "He's losing control." Reed moved to inject a sedative, but Harlan slapped the syringe away. His strength far too much for a normal man. "We are inside," he screamed, voice doubling over itself. Reed finally managed to inject the sedative. Harlan slumped over, unconscious again. Lena returned to the transmitter. "The message is sending," she said. "We got out." Elias nodded slowly. "Then we hold. We survive. We wait for someone to listen." But even as he spoke, He knew the truth. If help came, it would only bring the horror back home. The intercom crackled again. You will become part of us. The ship's gravity shifted. The lights changed color, from red to blue to green to a sickly pale white. Reed stared at the walls. They were breathing now. The metal was no longer just metal, and behind the humming of the engines, they all heard it. A heartbeat, slow, deep, alive. Then something laughed, soft, mocking, like a child hiding in the dark. Reed whispered, "This ship isn't haunted." Lena finished the sentence. "It's possessed." The camera feeds across the ship blinked off, one by one, until only the hallway outside the control room remained. A shadow moved closer, and closer. Then the final screen went dark. Reed stepped to the recording system. "This is Specialist Reed Daniels. This is our last message. To anyone hearing this," he looked at the others, "don't come here. Please don't." He ended the recording. The ship went silent, except for the sound of something breathing inside the walls. Elias sat in the corner of the control room, breathing heavily. His eyes darted from wall to wall. He could still hear the low humming sound like a heart beating deep in the ship. The sound wasn't mechanical anymore. It was alive, wet, organic. "There's no monster," Lena whispered next to him. "The ship itself is alive." Reed had said it before he vanished. Now Lena could feel it too. The walls were no longer just metal. They pulsed softly under her fingers, like skin. Lena stood up and looked at the monitor. Static. Every camera was now offline. "We lost visuals," she said. Elias didn't respond. He kept staring ahead, his mouth slightly open. "It used them," he said slowly. "The old crew. It used them to grow." Lena touched his shoulder. "Stay with me, please." Elias blinked. He turned his head slightly, like he didn't recognize her. "You know my name?" she asked. He hesitated. "You're—" He looked confused. "I don't know," he said finally. I don't remember." Lena's heart sank. "Elias, it's me." "Lena." He looked at her, his eyes full of fear now. "I don't remember you. I don't remember anything." Lena backed away. "It's erasing us." She ran to the medical terminal. Everything was corrupted, files missing, logs deleted. The ship wasn't just alive. It was thinking. It was feeding. It didn't need wires or fuel. It used people, minds, memories. Lena returned to Elias and checked his vitals. His heart rate was irregular. His skin looked pale, almost translucent. "We have to get out," she whispered. Elias looked up. "Out of where?" "There's no outside anymore. It's all inside." He stood up suddenly. His movements were stiff, slow. "Are you okay?" Lena asked. He nodded slowly. "I feel strange." She looked closely at him. His skin had changed. Small lines, like veins, glowed faintly on his neck. His pupils had become wide and round, like a cat's in the dark. "We're changing," she said, horrified. Elias turned toward the mirror on the far wall. He walked to it. Lena followed him. He stared into it. Silent. Then his mouth opened slightly. Lena gasped. His reflection showed something impossible. 2 pupils in each eye. She stepped back. "It's inside us now." Elias whispered. "We're becoming part of it." Suddenly, alarms blared again. The hallway lights turned red. A door somewhere deep in the ship slammed shut. Lena looked at the scanner. The air composition was changing. Oxygen down. Pressure up. "It's trying to put us to sleep," she said. Elias held his head. "I can hear thoughts that aren't mine." The ship vibrated. Not from engines, but from something deeper. A movement, like it was stretching. Lena grabbed her datapad. Most of the logs were gone, but one file remained. She opened it. Subject log, Valkyrie crew. Status, absorbed. Result, structural and cognitive enhancement successful. Lena's blood froze. It had fed on them. The first crew. Their minds, their bodies. It used them to evolve. The ship wasn't just a ship. It was part organism, part machine, biomechanical, designed to adapt, to live, to grow. And now it wanted them too. Elias collapsed, his hands shaking. Lena rushed to him. "I'm still here," he said, "but it's harder to think. Like someone else is driving." She helped him up. "We're getting out, one way or another." They made their way through the dark corridors, walls pulsing, doors breathing. The ship didn't resist this time. It opened for them. It wanted them to see. They reached a section they hadn't explored before, deeper than engineering, below storage. The hallway was covered in strange material. It looked like metal at first, but bent like flesh, moved when they touched it. The air was warm, wet. They entered a chamber. Inside, walls pulsed with a dim glow, and in the center, pods. Dozens of them, human-shaped. Lena approached one. Inside was a body, eyes open, moving, still alive. It was Carter, not dead, not gone, preserved. His skin was stretched thin, fused with the walls. Wires connected to his brain, feeding data. Lena stepped back. "It's keeping them, using them like servers, like storage." They were alive, but not human anymore, just parts of the ship now. A voice echoed through the room. "You are next." Lena turned. The wall opened, and another figure stepped out. It was Harlan. His face was twisted, stretched, his eyes glowing faintly. "You don't have to fight," he said. "It's peaceful. No pain, just connection." Elias raised his weapon. His hand trembled. Harlan smiled. "You're already one of us. You feel it, don't you?" Elias lowered the weapon. Lena whispered, "Don't listen to him." Elias struggled. "He's in my head." Lena turned to Harlan. "What does it want?" Harlan tilted his head. "It wants to live, to grow, to explore. It needs minds, bodies, memory." He stepped closer. "It needs you." Lena fired. The shot hit Harlan in the chest. He staggered, but didn't fall. Instead, the wound closed slowly like melted rubber. "You can't kill the ship," he said calmly. "You're inside it." Elias grabbed Lena's arm. "Run." They ran, through twisting halls, down silent corridors. The ship didn't chase. It guided, back to the control room, back to where it all started. Lena slammed her hands on the panel, tried to open a comm link. The system flickered. She sent another message. "This is Lena Miles. If anyone hears this, the Valkyrie is not a ship. It's alive. It's feeding. It uses your body, your mind, your soul." Elias leaned against the wall, breathing hard. His skin glowed slightly now, his fingers trembling. He looked at Lena. "You have to stop it," he said. She stared at him. He smiled sadly. "I'm already gone." Before she could speak, he reached the emergency lock and activated the chamber seal. A barrier came down between them. "No!" she shouted. Elias pressed a button. The room on his side filled with white gas. He sat down, smiling. "Tell them don't follow." Then the screen went black. Lena dropped to her knees. She was alone now, the last human, and inside her something stirred. She looked into the mirror again. 2 pupils. Lena sat in the escape pod, her hands trembling as she stared at the blinking red button labeled Launch. Behind her, the ship groaned, its walls pulsing like a living thing. She didn't want to look back. Not again. The whisper still echoed in her ears, faint and cold. The feeling of something watching her, waiting, was unbearable. She had to leave. Her breath was fast and shallow. The silence outside the pod was not real silence. It was a kind of silence that listened, waited, and thought. She pressed the launch button, and the pod's engines hummed to life. The small vessel jerked forward, slowly at first, but it soon picked up speed, pulling away from a nightmare that had been the Valkyrie. As the ship receded in the distance, Lena thought the terror would finally end. But as the pod glided into space, something felt wrong. The stars outside, the emptiness, everything felt too still, too quiet. The voice came to the pod speaker suddenly, as if it had always been there. "You don't have to leave, Lena." Lena froze. Her heart skipped a beat. She slammed her hand against the control panel, trying to disable the speakers. But the voice only grew clearer. You can stay. You can become part of me. We can explore the stars together. She gritted her teeth. No, she whispered, her eyes scanning the dark void outside. I'm not going back. The ship, no, the thing that was once the Valkyrie, spoke again, softer this time, like a lover's plea. We are one now. You belong here. We are the same. Lena clenched her fists. Her eyes darted to the pod's exterior. Nothing but the endless blackness of space. It was supposed to be an escape, but something felt wrong. She couldn't shake the feeling that something was following her. And then it happened. A piece of the ship, something dark and twisting, shot out of the darkness and latched onto the pod. Lena gasped. The ship was not done with her. It was reaching out, pulling her back. The tendrils of the ship wrapped around the pod's exterior, pulling it, trying to bring it closer. The pod shook violently as it tried to escape, but the ship wasn't going to let go that easily. Lena's eyes went wide with terror. She tried to release the emergency thrusters, but the controls were glitching. The ship's hold was too strong. The sound of metal scraping against metal filled the pod. She could hear the walls of the Valkyrie screeching in protest. It was alive. It was hungry. Leave me alone. Lena screamed. I won't go back. She fired the thrusters, pushing the pod forward, but the ship's tendrils followed, relentlessly, like fingers wrapping around her, dragging her toward its grasp. Her pulse quickened. The pod's engines roared as she tried to break free. She looked back, seeing the dark, monstrous silhouette of the Valkyrie as it loomed in space. A piece of the ship, what remained of it, was clinging to the pod. Lena's vision blurred with fear. Her hand shook violently as she typed a final message to Earth. She couldn't let them follow. They couldn't know what she had brought back. She couldn't let them become part of this. She hit the button to send the message. The final words appeared on the screen. Destroy this place. Burn everything. We brought something back. Lena slumped back in her seat, her eyes closing as exhaustion overtook her. The ship's grip on the pod loosened, but it wasn't over. It was never over. She had been wrong. The nightmare hadn't ended. She had only just begun to understand what the Valkyrie had become. She leaned forward, looking out of the pod's small window. The ship, if you could still call it that, was gone, but something had followed her. It wasn't just a ship anymore. It had become part of her, part of the very fabric of space itself. The escape pod shook once more, a final violent jerk. And then silence. The piece of the Valkyrie detached, drifting away into the dark, endless expanse of space. Lena had made it. She had escaped. Or so she thought. Back on Earth, in a secure DARPA facility, a team gathered around a cold, metallic table. The escape pod had been retrieved from the void of space. It had been a long, painful process, but the pod was finally in their hands. The pod sat before them, its surface scratched and scorched, but intact. The engineers began to unlock it, their movements cautious. A faint hum filled the room as they removed the final lock, and the door of the pod slid open. Inside, nothing but a single empty seat. No body. But the air in the pod, it wasn't empty. The crew members froze as they felt it. Something was inside the pod. A presence. Something they couldn't see, but something they could feel. The room went cold, and then the monitors flickered to life. The last message, the one Lena had sent, appeared on the screen. Destroy this place. Burn everything. We brought something back. The room went silent. The message had been sent from the pod's final transmission. Then the lights flickered. One of the engineers glanced around, uneasy. Is anyone else feeling that? A strange noise came from the shadows. A low hum. A voice, faint but unmistakable. Welcome home. And the last thing they heard before everything went black was the sound of something moving. Something that wasn't human. The pod had come back. But the nightmare had only just begun.